Hello, welcome to the tutorial. Lesson 7, we're going to talk about doing special effects. And we're just going to do 3 different, quick special different effects that you can apply to your graphics that are kind of fun. First one we're going to do is called a lens flare. And so what I'm going to do is show you guys how to do that special effect, and then we'll go on to the next 2. But first thing we're going to do, I'm going to go File, Open, and I'm going to go into DHS Shared, Business Ed, and then we're going to go to Web Design, and then I'm going to go into Photoshop CS6, and then Unit 7, Creating Special Effects. And I am going to open up the storm graphic. Okay, so I'm just going to double click, open up this storm graphic. Okay, so here we got a picture, and I'm going to, what we're going to do is we're going to add your name to this with a lens flare. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is we're going to add a new layer. So I'm going to go down here to my layers panel, and I'm going to click on the new layer button. Okay, and I'm going to add a new layer, layer 2, and I'm going to double click and I'm going to name that black. And we're going to take and we're going to fill that layer in black. So I'm going to grab my paint bucket. I'm going to change my foreground color to black. And I'm going to fill that layer black. Okay. Realizing that below that is layer 1, which is our storm. Okay. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to grab the type tool. And we're going to type your name. So I'm going to pick a style of font that I want to use. I'm going to pick Cooper Standard. Go ahead and pick a style. I'm going to go black italic. Size 72. I'll just do the biggest I can. I'll readjust that in a second. But I'm going to click and make my foreground color into, I'll just use a light aqua blue. And I'm going to go ahead and press OK. I'm going to take that and I'm going to click and I'm going to type my name. Okay. And I'm going to stamp that down with my check mark. I'm going to hold Control T for free transform. I'm going to hold Shift, grab a corner, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to stamp that down up in this top corner. Okay. So we got our name, we got a black layer, we got this storm layer on the bottom. I'll double click layer 1 and name it storm. Okay, so 3 different layers. Now the lens flare we're going to apply to this black layer. Okay, and there's a reason we made it black, which you'll see here in a second. So this black, we need pixels to apply the lens flare filter to, and that's why this is black. And I'll show you how to make that work here in the end. But to do a lens flare, I'm going to go Filter, Render, and I'm going to go in here to Lens Flare. There's some other render effects in there as well. Okay. You get the lens flare dialog box, and you got some different types. You can scroll through and look at those different lens flares. I like the 105 millimeter prime, so I'm going to click on that one. You can use the slider to adjust brightness. You can click on the preview to adjust where you're applying it. I'm going to do my best to put this over the top of the N in my name. Okay, I'm just going to guesstimate where that's going to be. Get as close as I can. Just kind of estimate it. Okay, and I'm going to press OK. And that'll apply that lens flare filter to that object. Now you can take your move tool and you can move the lens flare. Okay, and you're going to kind of see the storm behind it then. But I'm going to just kind of position it a little bit. It should be fine. Okay. So it looks something like that. Now, obviously, we want to see the storm behind, this lens flare. And so we're going to take this layer now, and you'll see that each of these layers, by default, is a normal layer in this drop-down. Okay, they're all normal by default, and it's all we've really worked with pretty much to this point. But I'm going to go to the black layer, and we're going to make that layer a screen layer. Okay, and when I make it a screen layer, what it does is it takes and it makes the black transparent. Okay, and so now everything that's a black pixel becomes see-through, and you're just left with this effect. Okay, so I would probably take my eraser tool and just, oops, oh shoot, that's a clone snap, stupid. Okay, the eraser tool, maybe get rid of this stuff. Get rid of any of those little speckles that you might not want, so it looks a little better. And there you go. Now you got a lens flare. Okay, so that's the lens flare feature. The next one we're going to do is a motion blur. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to say no to save changes. You guys could save that if you wanted it. I'm going to go File New, and I'm going to set up a image, and I'll just leave it untitled. I'm going to go a width of 700, a height of 300 on a transparent background. Okay, I'm going to fill that black, so I'm going to click my black-white shortcut here. Puts black as the foreground color. Paint bucket it black. And then grab the type tool and just use that same settings you had. Pick a color that's a light color. Maybe this time I'll use a, I don't know, like a light orange or something. Press OK. I'm going to click in the middle of that. I'm going to type Jason. Stamp it down. Control T. Hold Shift. Grab a corner. Resize that. And then stamp it down again. Okay. We're going to create a motion blur. So we're going to make this thing look like it's moving. So I'm going to take, and now what I need to do with this is I need to have two Jasons text. Because we can't have them both blurred because we won't be able to read it. So one's going to be solid, one's going to be blurring behind it, making it look like it's moving. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to right click this, and I'm going to duplicate that layer. And press OK. So now we have Jason copy, and then we have the original. Okay. The second one down here is going to be the blurry one. Okay, so like if I hide the top one, you'll still see the bottom one. There's two of them laying on top of each other. This is going to be the blur, because I want to be able to see the solid, be able to read it on Jason copy. So I'm going to right click on this one, and I'm going to rasterize the type. Okay, rasterizing the type turns this into a normal layer. It's not a text layer anymore. I can't edit the text anymore. It becomes pixelated. I have to do that to blur it. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go up to Filter. I'm going to go to the Blur menu, and I'm going to go to Motion Blur. Okay? And you can see then the Motion Blur dialog box. Now you can change the way the blur is happening with this little rotation here, the angle. You can change the distance of it. Obviously, we want some distance, but I'm not going to go too crazy. Okay, but that's up to you. So I'm just going to blur mine out a little bit like this. And I'm going to press OK. Okay, so now Jason copy that type layer makes it so I can read it. If I don't have that, it's kind of goofy. I need a solid with a blur behind it to make it look like it has movement. And I can take Jason copy too. Go to my layer effects, and I could add a stroke if I wanted to, to just kind of define that thing a little bit better too. So that's a motion blur. And the black in the background is just so we can see it better. That's the only reason I want black back there. Okay. So that's how we do a motion blur. And that would be our second special effect that we talked about in the video. Now, the last one, it's not really that much of a special effect. It's just kind of something that is a good, useful tool to know and have. I'm going to close this and say no to save changes. We're going to go to File, Open, and I'm going to open up Billboard. Okay, and so here is Billboard. Here's the billboard. All right, so now we're gonna put something on this billboard. So I'm gonna take and I'm gonna place a graphic, a normal graphic, on this billboard. Okay, so let's say that we're trying to do something on a billboard. We're out in Google, so I'm going to go to Google and find something we can use here. So I'm in, you can see where I found my storm image here. Let's just type billboard. Let's see what we get. Okay, so here's some different billboards. Let me see here. Let's go. Let's just do, let's say, billboard signs. Let's see if that'll work. There's some good examples. Let's go rectangle sign and see what we get. Okay, so let's just say we've got a sign we want to put on a billboard. Okay, like this one. I guess this would be fitting for where we're at right now. I'm going to click on this one. Okay, we want to convert this into a billboard. Okay, so I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back to Photoshop, File New, press OK. I'm going to go Edit Paste and grab that. Okay, and then just maybe I'll crop that a little. So I'm going to grab my crop tool, unconstrained. Let's get this a little more rectangle. Okay, and then I'm going to grab my move tool. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to drag that into the billboard layer. Okay, we want to put this as a part of the billboard. Now, to do that, sometimes you may want to distort images a little bit. So I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to go down to Transform. And we've always used Free Transform quite a bit, Control T. But we're going to use a different one called Distort. Okay, Distort allows me to drag corners wherever I want to drag them. So I'm going to take and drag this corner here. I'm going to drag this corner here. I'm going to drag this corner here. I'm going to drag this corner here. And this is not fantastic, obviously. It looks pretty good, actually. But it gives you an idea what distort is. Okay, different than resizing an image. It allows you to take and turn and tilt images. And so this example shows you how you could apply distort. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. Go ahead and you're going to go on to Lesson 7, the DVD cover, and apply these three concepts. You're going to do a lens flare, a motion blur, and then apply a distort to something on your image on Photoshop Lesson 7, the DVD cover. So you guys have fun with the project. Try to be a feature.